Hi, Stefan, the BMW DIY guy. Today our project is going to be the Active Autowerke intercooler upgrade going into my F32 or BMW 435. I'm back here today at the self-service garage in Tacoma, Washington. I've partnered with them to do this work because it would be very difficult to film this work on Jackson jack stands. Now, you absolutely can do this work yourself at home in your own garage with Jackson jack stands, but in this case a lift is much easier. If you do have a service like this in your area, I strongly recommend using them because of the convenience of it. And if you're in the Pacific Northwest, the self-serve garage is a fantastic business to work with. The owner is amazing and they're a great local company to support. So if you are in this area, definitely use them. This upgrade is going to be relatively simple. Let's get to it. Okay, here we are underneath the car. We're going to remove 20 of these 8mm bolts scattered all the way throughout. There's a couple here underneath the nose, and this piece actually slots up into your front fascia, the front nose piece here. So power tools can help. If you put your 8mm socket on a power drill or something similar to take them out, it's faster. I'm going to take all 20 out. And then I'll show you once it's off, but I won't make you sit and watch me take out 20 bolts because that's a drag. Just make sure not to lose any. A magnetic bowl is really nice so you don't lose any of these parts. Also be aware that you generally suck up a lot of dirt and garbage on the top of this cover, so when you take it off, don't get a face full of dirt. All right, I'll take this off. Okay, so the lower cover is off, and I wanted to zoom in and show this very directly. So this is the bottom of the factory intercooler. This is the driver's side. What you see right here is the bottom of the charge pipe where it connects to the intercooler, and there's this little clip. Now, what you're also looking at right here, if your charge pipe looks a little different, the reason why is this is the Active Autowerke's charge pipe upgrade of the previous project that I did. So it may look a little bit different than yours. The factory one is plastic, and you can see some flexible tubing here. The upgrade is metal, but the clip is the same. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a flat blade screwdriver in, pry back and up to get this clip up and out. On the other side, there's a tube that comes down with a matching clip, and you need to unhook both sides. I'll show the intercooler more clearly here in a moment, but I wanted to make sure that you saw this very clearly. This clip will come back towards the pipe and up. And you just very gently pry with usually a flat bladed screwdriver to get this clip to come back and away. So that'll help get that off, and then we'll walk the intercooler off these two pipes. Okay, so here we are looking at the bottom of the factory intercooler. So there's really very few things holding this in. There are two T27 bolts on either side. You can see them, one here and one on this side. And then there's the fan shroud clips right here, which you will pull down gently and pull the fan away from the body of the intercooler. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull these two bolts first, here and here, and like I said, they're T27s. They'll come out, and then you gently pull down on this plastic clip and walk the fan shroud back from the factory intercooler. And actually, mine is a little bit looser from the previous work that I did, so I'm just going to kind of prep that work now. So the factory intercooler isn't all that heavy, but try not to drop it on your head, try not to drop it. You can generally take both bolts out and then just walk the intercooler down. Now there's one thing I want to point out. It's a little bit hard to see in this video. There normally is, right here where I have my hand, between your front grill and the intercooler, and you can see this rubber guide right here on the bottom of the intercooler. You'll normally have a piece of rubber right here that comes off of your front bumper. It comes back and meets into this piece. I've actually removed it. It's only held on in a couple of places. It's held on one side, it's held on in two little places up above and one on the other side. I've actually pulled that piece off. It's molded onto your front bumper, so it's not something that's intended to come off. But when I did the charge pipe, I found that the intercooler just would not want to go back in to fit around that rubber. I had to make this corner to fit up into the slots for the intercooler to go in, and that piece right there really made a lot of trouble. So I cut the supports on each side and the supports in the middle, just very gently cut it, and I pulled that piece off and I threw it away. Now, I also threw it away knowing that I was going to put a stepped upgrade intercooler in. I just didn't really see a way that I could make it around that bend with a stepped intercooler with the upgrade. So when you're doing this, if you see this piece that's here, that's normal. I'm not saying you necessarily have to remove it. I'm not always going to say that the way I do things is the best way of doing things. But I found in my case, because of the trouble I was having, and I knew I was going to put in a stepped, larger intercooler, I went ahead and removed it. You can't see it. You can't see that piece even being gone when this bottom piece is on. I think what it does, what it helps do is guide airflow through your front bumper directly into the intercooler. I didn't really see a lack in having it, so I had no problem removing it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull both of these bolts and walk the intercooler out. So T27, you can see one on this side, and be careful because it should be mostly loose at this point. I've loosened the pipes on both sides. I've walked those clips back. So there's one, and here's two. So the intercooler is going to want to kind of sag at this point and potentially come down. So I'm going to be very careful that I don't drop it or drop it on me. So again, we walk this fan shroud back, and the intercooler should just walk down. Okay, so my charge pipe connection has actually walked itself back into place. So I'm going to unclip that and then take this out. So give me just a moment. Okay, so the factory intercooler is out. All I had to do is walk that one clip back a little bit further, just gently pull down, and it came down out of its tracks up here, and here it is. Now, as you can see, and when we'll compare against the upgrade, you can see it's about half plastic with metal veining and works as a radiator to help cool your air coming in off your turbo. So the upgrade is substantially different. All right, let's show the upgrade. All right, as you can see, what a significant difference. So the fan clips are a little bit different. The fan will fit down into these existing clips. We'll take these caps off, obviously, when we install it. It's all metal. It's probably 3 times the weight. So keep in mind, if you have a friend that maybe help you put this in, it might help to have an extra set of hands. It'll go in with the same bolts. It'll connect in the same places and should connect right into place. We'll pull these caps off and we'll reconnect the downpipe and the pipe on the passenger side, and we'll put this up into place. Huge upgrade, really positive change. Okay, I want to walk through everything that I just did off camera, because in this case it was a little hard to do to film and get the parts into place at the same time. I kind of need both hands. So what you're looking at right now is the rubber connector that joins between the two charge pipe pieces. So in this case, I loosened the collar on the downside, on the intercooler side, so the lower section of the charge pipe could move and have a little bit of flexibility as it moved. If you have the factory one, it's a bit more flexible. It's plastic, has a big accordion section in this, so you should have an easier time potentially getting it connected to your new intercooler. Though candidly, I don't see why you'd be doing a new intercooler and not having a new charge pipe. It's kind of like having only half the equation. I did it in the previous order where I installed the charge pipe and then the intercooler, because that's the order in which I got the parts. So you're looking at the connection between the two. I loosened the collar, which you can see right here with my fingers on it. I loosened the collar so the lower section of the charge pipe would have a little bit of flexibility to it. Now, we're looking at the bottom here of the intercooler. This is the new intercooler that's now in place. We have the 27 millimeter or 27 Torx here, the screwing it in place. It's connected here with the lower section of the charge pipe with the clip back in place. Make sure that this connection is solid and in place and doesn't move. Now, you'll also notice that the fan surround that we have here, that my finger's on, you now have these vertical clips that come up to hold it in place. Before, there are these little plastic tabs that it would just kind of lock into place. So as you slide up the intercooler, you'll want to make sure that the fan slides into place. So I've got the 27 on this side, the fan is in place on this side here and here, and then we've got the other 27 on this side right here, and we've got our other pipe connected here with the clip back in place. So with all of that in place, check all your connections, make sure that they're intact and solid, that your clips are straight. This one's on and straight and solid, so there's no problems there whatsoever. Your intercooler is now in place, which you can see now looking back down the body from the nose of the car with the awesome ActiveWorks proof of manufacturing. Don't buy copies. There's a lot of cheap copies out on the internet, on eBay and other places, where you take companies in different places around the world that are copying the quality products from companies like Active Autowerke. This proves it's theirs. Okay, so what a difference. The factory one is probably 5 pounds at most, half plastic, half metal. This is probably 20 pounds plus, all metal. So at this point, you want to make sure that all your connections are correct. So always walk back through them again. We have our bottom clip on the bottom of our charge pipe here. It's in place. Our charge pipe is fitted and correct. I've tightened the connection at the rubber collar again. Don't forget it, or you'll get a leak through there. That's tightened back up. This is here. My T27 is tight here. My fan clips are tight here and here. My hose is tight and the clip is on here. So at this point, it's in. It really is that simple. With a little bit of luck and a little bit of time getting it in. And now again, I'm missing this front shroud piece that I mentioned here earlier that would cover from here to here. I don't believe that you can leave that piece in place when you put this intercooler in. I think that it would be way too tight. It would be trying to fit down underneath here. It's underneath this edge. I certainly think it's possible, but in my case, like I said, I decided to take it out. All right, so the tough work is done, and as you can see, it's not all that hard. So at this point, I'm going to put the 25 some odd bolts back in to put the lower cover. We'll take a look at that in just a moment. Okay, so the bottom plate is back on. Generally what I do to make it easier on myself, because it fits into your front bumper, so I usually will slide it up, fit the front end first, usually put the center bolt in to help hold it in place, and then put the two back ones, one or two of the back ones here in. That way it's all held up, you're not trying to hold it and screw with one hand and get bolts with the other. So put in all 20 bolts and make sure that they're nice and tight. Don't hulk out on them, because you are looking at some pretty soft fittings for some of them. So just tool tight to the point where they get tight using a driver or using a socket. Don't go too bananas on them, but make sure to get all of them back in. If you look at it, air will channel through here, through your front bumper. So I always make sure that this is very, very secure. I don't want this flapping around. I don't want this loose, not only from a noise place where it might be making noise, which would drive me crazy, but also it's not good for it. So, and you don't want it vibrating and starting to tear. Also take that opportunity to clean out anything that you have on top of this. We had some rocks and garbage and leaves. Make sure to sweep all that off. So all of this is back in place. You're pretty much done. It really is that simple of a project to do. And at this point, we'll drop the car down, we'll take it for a test drive. We're good to go. Our successful test drive is done. The car ran beautifully. The install went really almost painlessly. What a nice clean install of what is clearly a superior product over what comes with the car from the manufacturer. It's really intended to give you a higher performance bandwidth, and as you look and make the progression to install these really simple, easy steps forward in increasing the performance of your car, this is a very logical step for you to take. I want to thank Mike of Extreme Powerhouse. They are a fantastic company to work with. I don't know why they wouldn't be your first stop, your first place you check on what you'd like to do for your car. Definitely reach out to him, look at their website, it's all linked below. Take a look at the intercooler itself, an amazing piece of work. Even the weld marks on it are almost pretty. It is so vastly superior. The OEM component weighs about probably 5 pounds at most, probably less. Putting up the new one probably weighs over 20. It might not be a bad idea to have an extra set of hands at times if you might need it to help hold that piece up. The install went really, really well. I want to stress a couple of components here, or a couple of pieces right here at the end. The intercooler fits into slotted grooves on either side. It fits up very easily. I actually found the Active Autowerke intercooler easier to install than the original. When I had to reinstall the original after I put in the charge pipe, I actually found this easier to put in the original. It clips in very nicely into the fan shroud, so make sure that that's in place and make sure that all of your hoses on either side are in the correct location and have the clips in place and intact. Check those connections really, really well. You don't want any leaks there. But Active Autowerke clearly makes a superior product. I am really, really impressed, and I look forward to continuing to work with it and over the next few months. If I get an opportunity to take my car to the dyno and take a look at the changes that those two components between the Active Autowerke charge pipe that I have installed now and their intercooler, I'm really looking forward to seeing what differences that makes throughout the power band of using my car. So thank you to Mike of Extreme Powerhouse. Thank you to Active Autowerks for making a fantastic product. And lastly, thanks again to George of Self-Serve Garage in Tacoma, Washington. If you're in the Pacific Northwest region, I don't know why you wouldn't use their service. It is so much easier, so much faster to be able to get in, get your car up on a lift. You don't have to worry about jacks or jack stands. You can put your car straight up on the lift and you get underneath it. You can have all kinds of access and ability to get to your car you wouldn't normally have. I don't know about you, but jacks and jack stands always make me a little bit nervous. They always have. I triple check them. I'm always making sure they're in the right place. And the ability to put your car up on a really high grade lift and get it all the way up above your head and be able to work it with that way is a huge advantage. Their rates are reasonable, their services are fantastic, all their staff there is really, really great. I've worked and spoken with them all now, and the owner, George, is wonderful. So if you are in the area, please reach out to him. Please consider using their services. Again, their website will be linked below. And even if you're not in the Pacific Northwest, take a look at what might be available to you around in your local area. I know that about a year ago, I was saying, boy, I really wish that there was a garage out there somewhere where I could just rent a lift for a couple of hours, and didn't know that they existed. Well, I do now. There might be a similar service in your area. As far as doing this out of your home garage, you absolutely can do it with jacks and jack stands. I want to stress, though, as always, be very, very careful. Never get underneath your car with just a jack. Even if you think, it'll be okay, do you really, really want to bet your life on a simple hydraulic arm in your jack? So, always do jacks and jack stands. The tools for this job today were very, very simple and will be all listed below. So check that out, but you really don't need anything special to get this job done to install really what is a quality component. All right, thank you so much. Please consider subscribing if you've liked what you've seen, and I always welcome questions and feedback. I'm always looking to try to answer whatever I can and be as responsive as I possibly can be. So again, please click subscribe if you've liked what you've seen, and I'll talk to you soon.